Now, Vancouver area home sales dropped 9.8% from May to June, and the benchmark house price fell there 2.8% from the same time last year to $1.73 million. For more on the housing number in both of those cities, we're joined by John Pasalis. He's president of Realosophy Realty. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so a lot of numbers to unpack here. Let's start with Toronto and the Greater Toronto area. So sales are up in Toronto, but the selling price is down. So what does that tell you?
So sales are up modestly month over month, but really we're still at a 20-plus year low in sales volumes. And really the decline in prices is driven by the fact that inventory levels, so active listings, are at historic highs. They're record numbers, double what we were 2 years ago. And it's this volume of active listings that is gradually putting downward pressure on prices right now.
So why is there so much on the market?
Well, I mean, it's a combination of a couple of things. I mean, more people are selling. A lot of investors are exiting the condominium market. But even with moderate new listings volumes, because sales are so soft, 20 to 30-year lows, what ends up happening is active listings end up building up. And this is a typical cycle in a slower market where, new listings outpace sales and gradually have inventory building up.
So clearly a buyer's market at this point?
Absolutely. It's a buyer's market across the board in Toronto and in Vancouver. Soft sales, a lot of listings. So buyers definitely are driving the market right now.
So it's a different picture a little bit outside of Toronto in the surrounding southern Ontario areas because sales aren't as strong. Is that typical?
Well, typically, yeah. I mean, in downtown Toronto, I mean, it's still a slow market, but it's performing a little bit better than the 905 regions, the suburban regions of Toronto. That's the typical trend we've seen even in slower markets where urban homes do a little bit better. But even for downtown, it's still a little bit soft. Okay,
so what do you think, a bigger picture, is driving some of this? Are buyers waiting for another Bank of Canada rate drop, perhaps? Is it the uncertainty about their jobs, even though it looks like we're going to softly move into a recession as opposed to a bigger recession? What do you think is driving this?
It's certainly two big factors. I mean, firstly, it's the trade uncertainty with the United States. I think this has put a lot of anxiety for a lot of buyers thinking about buying a home, worried about their jobs. And that leads us, of course, to the economic uncertainty in Canada. People are seeing headlines of job losses and job cuts. And I think if you're in industries that are vulnerable, no one wants to go out and buy a home or upsize if they're worried they might lose their job tomorrow. So all of this uncertainty is pushing a lot of people to the sidelines until we have a little bit more confidence in the economy.
Let's talk a little bit more about Vancouver, because sales are down there. The benchmark price is also down. So how is that playing out differently in Vancouver than the same issues playing out here?
Well, I mean, very similar trends in Vancouver, I'd say. Soft sales volumes, a ton of active listings on the market. And again, moderate sort of downward pressure on prices. So we're seeing relatively similar dynamics, even though the numbers are slightly different, very similar trends on the ground.
What about the rest of the country? I mean, these are the numbers we got in this week. I'm wondering if this is something, I know Montreal seems to be a standout in a different way. It's going in different directions. But generally, what are you seeing? So,
yeah, definitely the trends in Toronto and Vancouver are probably the most pessimistic. They're the hardest hit regions. But yeah, we're seeing definitely different trends in Alberta and in Quebec and Montreal in particular. So we can't look at sort of Toronto and Vancouver and expect this all to apply across the country because different markets are certainly behaving slightly differently.
Okay, let's talk about whether or not you see this as the beginning of a recovery. Obviously, we have that 8.1 sales increase May to June. Is that significant, or do you see that as a sort of not really a big mover considering the wider picture year over year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that as a big mover. We're probably not going to see a big shift in sales volumes until we have a trade deal and until we have some certainty that it's not just going to get ripped up in another 2 weeks after it's signed. And I think that's what the average home buyer is looking for, a little bit of clarity in the economy. And certainly a trade deal would be one big step forward towards that.
So what are you telling sellers, right? Because they're on the end of it where sometimes, as you mentioned, they're putting their home up for sale. They're not getting any bite or they're not getting any serious interest and they have to sit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we have to just educate them that, I mean, at the end of the day, as long as you're priced well, you're eventually going to sell. It's just going to take longer. People aren't used to homes sitting on the market for 30 days, 60 days. This is a normal market in a lot of other cities We're used to homes selling in a week. That's not the market right now. So sellers just need to be patient, and a home that's priced well is still going to sell.
Would you advise somebody who's thinking of selling to wait then to see if there's a turnaround in the next few months?
In some cases, we've done that. Again, I think it's very specific to the person and the property that they have. But in some cases, we definitely advise people to just hit pause. It's a sluggish market, especially in the condo market. If you have a larger unit, it's sluggish. So if you don't need to sell, perhaps wait for the sentiment to shift in the near future. Hopefully.
How long are the condos sort of active listings? How long are they sitting?
They're sitting a lot longer. In the small market, small condos, we have probably about 10 months of inventory, and that's the most sluggish market. Two-bedroom units that are larger are performing a little bit better. But it's a very, very sluggish market for those small units.
And I know spring's usually a busy time for the real estate market. Does summer slow down because people are on vacation, or is it typically busier?
The summer typically slows down because people hit pause, but even this spring has been pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Like I said, for the past 2-3 months, we've still been at 20 to 30-year low sales volume. So we haven't seen this uptick that we typically see in the spring months.
Got it.